Today we're joined by Sarah Moxom, CEO and founder of Phoenix Staffing and human rights activist. Sarah's founded multiple companies in the hospitality, nightlife, sustainability and staffing industries. Sarah is a specialist in leadership training, team building and creating cultures of empowerment. So let's dive right in.
So, Sarah, we saw your EMC not last week, week before I think it was.
It was a few weeks ago, yeah.
You're on stage, killed it, confidence. Where's that come from?
Oh, where's my confidence come from? Great question. Confidence, I think, has been built over time for me. I was always a confident child, and my parents let me just be crazy. So I was always on stages, always leading and making crazy songs and dances. But I think it's something that then I cultivated over time and put intention to.
Yeah, perfect. So, obviously, being on stage in front of that many people, is that the biggest stage you've done?
No, the biggest stage was about 6 years ago with 10,000 people in Vegas.
In Vegas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Vegas.
What was that
epic.
for?
I bet that's got energy.
So I was part of a coffee company that was a network marketing business, and so it was part of that.
Yeah. What was you doing? Just marketing in front of these people? Like, why? What was their reason for being there?
So it was like a conference, an annual conference,
Right.
and at the time there was a big like women's movement. So I was kind of heading up part of that and talking about our experiences building in the UK, because myself and my partner and another couple were like the leaders in the UK at the time and had kind of been the most successful. So it was sharing a lot of that journey.
And so I think, obviously, we've all started the podcast. We've recently got forced into posting on TikTok and held each other accountable. We've ticked that box now. The next stage at some point for us will be stage talking. Now, we've got over the fear of podcasting. I've now already got over the fear of posting on TikTok.
Still hard, isn't
I
it?
would be terrified going onto a stage right now. How did you prepare for that? What's the...
Yeah, I love that question. So I think first for me, it's identifying what is my style of speaking. So a lot of people can speak from like knowledge or like how-tos or steps. It's been a reflection that's come back to me that I'm an inspirational speaker. So I speak more from heart, from like personal experience. I want to be emotive, get people's emotions involved, take people on an emotional journey. So I think it's first about identifying what is the talk, what kind of speaker are you, and what do you want to bring? And then on a real practical level, so I run multiple businesses, have a podcast, do loads of stuff going on. So it's about working out the time to actually dedicate to that skill and harnessing that skill. So for me, it was about, I got called in to like do MC only like a month and a bit before like it actually took place. So like, right, look at my diary. How am I going to practically do this? So it was like getting up early in the mornings, prepping what I wanted to say, because I was allowed to speak on whatever I wanted, and then practicing and getting people around me who had done public speaking to listen to what I prepared, like mirror that back, do the work around that. And that was always in the mornings. And on another really practical level, I'd like voice record myself. I'd go for like long walks and like voice record myself, listen back to myself. Because it'd been like 6 years since I've been on stages of that size. And apart from, you know, rooms for like small business rooms where you can be a lot more casual, I hadn't done anything formal. So I really wanted to listen to tonality, like my messaging, be like self-reflective and self-critical as well. So for me, it was the morning times.
How did that come about, you getting onto EMC?
Yeah.
What happened?
Love this question. So for me in life, I believe everything comes from relationships. That's been the story of my life in business. And it was actually an amazing friend who used to also be in the coffee business called Dan Jukes, who helps run EMC from the back end. And he just called me up and was like, do you want to speak on the stage? I'm going to be completely honest. I'd never heard of EMC in my life. And I called my mate, he's like my mentor and a friend of mine. And I said, I've been asked to speak at this EMC thing. And he goes, what? He was like, that's epic.
Yeah.
And he was like, how are you there? And I'm like, relationship. Like this guy's seen me on stage. He's seen what I've done before. He follows me on social media. He knows my message. Like, one of the girls who lives with me, who also works in my office, is in his trading company and makes money from that. So he's kind of watched me on a journey for some time and was like, straight away, Sarah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's good he actually pointed you out.
Yeah.
I suppose that's from your personal brand though, right?
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. How you show up, because we hadn't seen each other for a long time personally, but I'll be honest, I haven't really been that active in building a personal brand on my social media. Like, I'm a little bit more intentional now, but for the last couple of years I've been like, just share my life.
Yeah.
Just share who I am.
It's just
share
organic.
my energy,
So that
share what I'm
works,
up
so.
to. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what people love.
Absolutely.
So there's two important things that you mentioned there is your brand, your own personal brand, but also having your network as well.
Yes.
How important do you think that is? And is there another example you have as to where that's come into play and has really benefited your personal and professional life?
Such a great question. And the answer is yes, there are so many. There are 12,000 people on my phone. So just to the level
What,
of
contacts?
network contacts.
Contact,
12,000.
not your Instagram.
12,000 phone numbers on my phone.
Yeah, I love
so
that.
You're speaking to someone who genuinely believes and knows and has lived a life knowing the power of human relationship and network and connection. So like, I joke around because people will be like, whatever they're doing, they'll be like, Sarah, do you know someone? I'm like, yeah. Pick up the phone. And so it's like that I'm that go-to person for anything, literally anything. And, you know, anywhere. So like, I'll give you an example. Like yesterday I was at a trade show for one of the businesses that I have. It's like a drinks exhibition trade show. There was 3 different people who came up to me and were like, Sarah, oh my God. And one of them had like listened to my podcast, been watching my journey on social media, shared with me some really tough things that he'd gone through this year, how he really, really was, which is a big passion of mine, that people really share their realness of their life, not just the like smoke and mirrors and the happy times. And we got into a really deep conversation. I met this guy 12 years ago. He came to like a presentation at a coffee company, but in this moment and he gave me his card. He does like brand and photography, and I was like, I will message you, let's see where this goes. And so that's just one example of like almost a daily occurrence if I'm moving in my field.
Yeah, you put yourself in those situations as well. And we're part of Founders as well, which are you part of Founders?
Yes, I am part of Founders. Love Founders.
Yeah, and obviously we didn't actually know you via that, but
No.
that's a big thing. We all enjoy it. We've had KP on.
Great, I love KP.
Yeah, KP. You got
He was wicked, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's good. We've had who else have we had on?
What,
Simon Alexander Wrong. He came
Great.
on. He was really good. We've got Dr. Alka coming on for
Oh,
the next
brilliant.
episode as well later on. So yeah, it's good to be connected to those types of people. Just touching on, obviously, you saying there you got seen and stuff when you go out to events. We from the podcast we had at the EMC, which was probably the first time where we've all been together in a room. Obviously, it is the target audience of entrepreneurs, so it makes it a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but we got noticed by a few people that had seen us. Someone from Birmingham, I think it was, just literally found us through our podcast, not following us on social media or anything, just somehow came across our podcast, listened to episodes, and recognised us all and came up and spoke to us. We had that happen a few times, and then even in the local area, individually we've had it. Jake had it in Tesco, I've had it in the gym, I had it just at the traffic lights. And considering the podcast is still
Have you
small,
really? I didn't
someone
even know
literally
that.
reversed back, and I was thinking, oh, what have I done? Open the window, and he's like, you're from the Multipliers Club. And I was like,
that.
and I was
That's
like, it's
hilarious.
so cool.
Well done.
Yeah, so I think after the EMC, after that happening, for us, that kind of hooked us in quite a lot, and we really liked it, getting recognised. So for you, how do you find it? How do you react to getting recognised when you're out in public, if someone comes up to you or a second
Great
look
question.
at you?
Yeah, so how do I react to getting recognised? I think there's so many layers to it, and the first thing that comes to me is to always remain grounded. I think there's a real, whenever someone's got a massive, like let's talk about a famous person or whatever that means, whenever anyone's got a level of recognition, it's to remain grounded in what you're doing and who you are, and stay there, because you can get hyped up in your own hype as well, and think that you're a bigger deal than you are, right? And then on a practical level, so like to really talk into EMC, so what my main message in EMC, my talk was called The Currency of Connection. And one of the tasks that I sent people to go away and do was to connect with people in their business world on a deeper layer and come back and share their experiences. Now, straight after EMC, I had countless DMs, like just maybe 40 or 50 DMs of people sharing their personal struggles and their personal journeys. And where I'd shared about my sister passing away and what that had been like in life and business, it had created a space where they then felt really comfortable to talk about theirs. So on a real practical level from EMC, it wasn't about the recognition of me. It was about understanding the impact of my message and what that had opened up. And I'll be really honest, I wasn't ready for that because it was an overwhelm. I hadn't created space to go, this is emotional stuff to come my way. And it was, I wanted to read every story. This isn't the way that I operate in my business world is not here's a form to fill in and let me put you in a system. I understand that works for marketing. It's not my messaging and it's not how I live my business world. So I actually needed to reply personally to every single message. And that took time. And that also took emotional energy to hold space for
especially
that story.
That's 40 probably different scenarios as well. And obviously you
there's
just
no template. Yeah.
No, and but I loved
yeah.
it. I loved knowing that part of their life, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I did it. It was that thing of going like, this is why I do what I do. This is the impact that I want to have. I think being recognised out and about, also just to add to that, you also realise you've got a level of responsibility. And actually, if people are watching you and they've been impacted by your life, are we all being mindful, really mindful around the messages that we're putting out on not just talking about our personal brand, but what we're standing for in the world? And actually, when you're walking down the street, if someone's going to recognise you, they are looking at the way that you treat that traffic officer, the way that you treat the person who serves you the coffee, the way that you look at every single individual. If you're going to be someone who's going to be recognised, it's actually calling yourself to realise that those things actually really matter. Not the fact that they're looking at you, but they could watch one moment of anger or do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like it calls you, for me, it calls me better as a person. I'm like, gosh, okay, who am I today? Am I in a good state to interact with people?
Sure. I think it's like what you said. It's cool that people recognise you, but it's the fact that people would come up to us or come up to me and said, oh, I listened to your podcast, and because of that podcast, I went away and did this.
Right.
And that's when I was like, oh, wow, it's not like people recognise you, fair play, but this guy, someone's taken action off the back of you. So that's when, coming back to what you were saying a minute ago, it's like it can work both ways. Like if you act a certain way, people might actually see you acting that way, see you as some kind of role model and start acting that way. Maybe that way you were angry for that 1 minute and now they think that's acceptable to do.
Yeah. And I love what you said there about the impact of like, I think deep down that's why we all do what we do. Like the money's a great byproduct. The notoriety is a great byproduct of material success, whatever those things that we're working for. But the impact, to know that what you have shared with someone has caused a change for them, that's an inward transformation of somebody else. For me, that makes me freaking happy. I'm like, that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. It's compound effect as well. So like what the impact you make on someone, they're going to go away and hopefully have another impact on somebody else. So those 40 people, for them to actually reach out to you and shared, that's what they're going through right now. That's crazy. And to do it. Did you reply did you voice note back to them or?
Voice note.
That's the quickest way to do it.
Yeah. And some of them I wrote back, and some of them opened up deeper conversations, and we jumped on Zoom calls.
Really?
Yeah.
Has that made you think about I don't know, going further with anything to do with that? Because obviously you weren't expecting that. You didn't even know you were going on EMC, right?
Yeah.
You've done an inspirational talk, and it has actually been inspirational. The fact you got 40 people messaging you. That made you think, is there something I can do here to help more people? Yeah,
it's a really great question. I love that. And I think, yes. And I'm already working on those plans and doing those plans. And I think for the things that I want to build, it's not about blowing up quickly. Because actually, like I said, with something like that, it takes more than just, like, people need to be really seen and heard in that. Like, that's a real energy. So I'm trying to tune into what does that look like to create a space where that level of conversation can be held and seen. Part of it's my podcast. So a lot of the podcasting that I'm doing, we talk real talk. We talk about those struggles. We really go deep into those challenges. And I'm building out other plans behind the scenes for that as well. Yeah.
If you can relate, obviously, your business experience also with your personal experience. And that's massive.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's funny? I will actually... people always laugh when I say this, but I shared on the EMC stage my journey into entrepreneurship in my adult years, because there was always moments in childhood, but in my adult years was as a shot girl, right? That's why I bought the shots out on stage at EMC. Okay?
It's good,
you forced someone to pick them up.
I forced them to go there. But part of selling shots, and I'm sure we've all been in nightclubs. If we've ever been out in nightclubs and we've been harassed by that person,
It's the hustle. We love
we
it.
are freaking hustlers, right?
That's hardcore sales.
Hardcore sales, hardcore hustlers, but also hardcore emotional listeners. Do you know the amount of times that you have to sit with someone who pulls their whole life story out onto you in the like you might be sat with someone they buy all the shots, right?
You're getting the job done.
They are literally, you're their counsellor. So I started to really reflect on this piece, like, why has this become part of messaging and journey? It's because, gosh, when I was 19, I would literally be told everyone's woes and troubles, and it would be part of the business exchange. Like, vulnerability, realness and openness was part of the strategy of sales.
That's
as a shop girl.
Yeah.
Because obviously everyone's had a drink, so obviously everyone opens up a lot more, and all the emotion starts coming out.
And you just they come back week after week.
You never actually think about it like that.
Really? And what was your techniques tapping into that specifically when you was doing the shots and trying to get, what was some of the techniques you'd use to?
Yeah, it's great. Learning to listen really, really well. So it would be like coming over, not making it about the sale. So I used to, like when I was at university, I worked in the city bars, and that obviously is different to working in a really busy nightclub where you can't hear. So you have to sit with people, right? In order to sell, you've got to have good chat. So it would be like, oh, I'm not making this about the sale. Let's talk about you. How's your week been? What are you guys celebrating?
Yeah.
To have the shots just to the side.
I've got something to help you.
Yeah, you just have the shots over there on the tray or whatever. Or then back in the day it was the shot belts we used to wear. And you'd listen. And you'd spend as much time as you can truly listening. Not needing your agenda to come out, but just being attentive. And then eventually go, oh, go on then. We'll buy. I'll go on then. We will.
It's about attention and time, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
give
obviously,
them some time. And connecting to what they want to talk about, not what your agenda is.
How many shot girls do you still have that business with?
Yeah, so it's part of a wider business.
So it's Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we provide temporary work opportunities to people working in the nightlife and hospitality industry. So part of that is shots, part of it is like bartenders, entertainers, waitresses, anything that industry needs from a staffing perspective.
Did that start from shot girls, or was that just part of it? So it all started from the shot girls.
It did. It started from me working shots.
Yeah.
I was studying.
You want to be king of the shot girls, right?
I was
queen
just
of the
queen.
Sorry,
Do you know what it was? I didn't want to stop doing it. The simple thing was, so my parents were church pastors and teachers. Right, so I was a shot girl, just going.
You're the rebel.
You bet. I was like, I just want to have fun and make money, and I love the party scene. So all of my values at that time were tick, tick, tick. I was making insane money.
It's good money. You get paid comms on the
just
shots.
all commission.
No basics.
No basics.
What sort of numbers was you doing? How many shots would you have to sell to make how much?
At the time, it was like cash in hand £1,000 for 2 shifts.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So you just work Friday, Saturday night, and I would be like studying at uni, and I'd be like, what? Started to look at all these internships. I did a couple of internships in the city, and I went, nah, mate.
Get paid half the wage. Work.
It's not as simple as going and making like 1 or 2 grand, but you must have been doing it well, because there's some people that definitely don't do it well, right?
No. And this was, let's put it into context too. I think it's always really important to put business into context. So this was, it was back, when I was 19, so absolutely years ago. It's a very new concept. The nightlife industry was really at its peak. Like, it's good now, and people do make really good money, but then it was at just a slightly higher peak than it is now. It hasn't bounced back in the same way post-COVID. So contextually, it was very new, and I was good at what I did. I loved it and put in the hours. So doing that at uni, and then watching all my peers, and I was like, you guys are going to like internships and these base salaries, working 5 days. I was like, the math does not make sense. It was middle of the recession. 0-hour contracts were just coming out. Everyone wanted the temporary workers at the time. And in my last year of uni, I went, I am not giving this up. So I started building the company as I was finishing my exams. My mum and dad were like, please don't do this. What are we going to tell your grandma? To the day my grandma died, they still didn't properly tell her what I did. No. They're just like, Sarah gives lots of jobs to people.
She's a recruiter.
Can't put this
You're a recruiter, pretty much.
They would just, she gives jobs. So my nan would go in and I'm going, my daughter's very successful. She gives jobs to everybody in the country. Great. My last year I set this up, and I gave myself 3 months. I said to my mum and dad, I said, if it is not a success in 3 months, like if I cannot fully live off of this, if this is not something that is financially viable and has stability to it, I will go and get what they would call a proper job. And it exploded. from when I finished my last exam, had my first client in, and it was non-stop.
Really?
Absolutely non-stop.
So how did you get on board like your first client? So you're working in a place, and then comes along the first client. Was that the place you were working, or did you go and outsource it from another place?
Yeah, really good question. So I didn't have a website for about 2.5 years. Nothing online at all. So everything was word of mouth. Everything was connection. Every industry is small. I believe every industry is small at the top. So if you position yourself well and you get to know the right people in the industry, you can create success without a shadow of a doubt. And that's what I'd done. So I'd worked within the industry. I'd built these connections and they trusted me. They believed in me. I came to them and I said, this is what I'm doing. I said, I've got a small pool of people. I didn't say small. I said, I've got some people. I was like, we can do this, right? So it was literally, that's how it worked. And it was like, job would come in, got to find a way to make it work. Job would come in, find a way to make it work. I mean, these jobs were not, they're people heavy, right?
So they would call you and say, we need some shot girls for tonight, this event that we've got. And then you would be like, okay, fine, solution, here's your shot girls. Okay.
So the hardest one I remember was they were like, next day in the morning, by 8 a.m, we've been let down by another supplier. We need 20 staff in Santa hats to hand out flyers around like Piccadilly Circus and all these places. I didn't have 20 staff. So I was like, right, how are we going to do this? So I was like, right, the few people that I did have, which were like friends and family, right? My sisters got roped in, everyone got roped in. you're doing it, you're doing it.
Get your Santa hat on.
Get a friend. Get a friend. If you get a friend,
Compound.
you get a fiver.
Yeah.
If you get a friend, you get a fiver. Get a friend, you get a fiver. That's how we multiplied. And so that's how it started. Before we put out ads, before we started anything, it was what we had, multiply it.
Nice.
That's so important, yeah, because everybody nowadays thinks like, you know, I'm probably a little bit guilty of it as well. You know, like we're setting up a business, let's get on company's house, let's get ourselves a website, and you try and do all the professional stuff. I feel like maybe it's something you're telling yourself in your head that this is necessary before you even start. I think it's important that, what you're saying is so true. Just start.
Hustle.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Can I be really
Hustle.
honest? When they said to me, can you send an invoice? I went, what is an invoice?
I love that.
No idea.
I love that.
No idea. Like that, and it was literally that. It was, when I look back now, it's like a comedy show. It would literally was like a comedy show. I had no idea what I was doing, but people trusted me.
We've
They
done a good
believed
job,
in me, and
obviously.
we always did a good job. They always came back, and now we are where we are.
How many people have you got on your books now, or how many people have you had over time?
Over the years, I think we've provided about 7,000 people with jobs.
Wow.
Flexible work. There's 22 women in the office that run the company. All women.
Men.
Just can't keep any men.
Really?
We crack one, and then they like go, don't like it.
So they're intimidated, you think?
I think just culturally, I've done a lot of work in the business on team culture, and I'm very big on leadership, and I consult and work with female-founded businesses. And the cultural piece, we've got such a tight-knit family that actually if you come in and it doesn't gel, whether you're male or female, whatever gender you associate with, it's more the cultural piece. It's just, if they don't fit, it doesn't work.
I know it's not all shots that you do, but obviously it's that whole sale, it teaches you so much, like resilience. You're going up to so many people and they're saying no, you're trying these different tactics saying no, and you just got to keep going with it every day, right? So you're definitely a success story from it, but do you have any other people that you know that were doing shots and they just learned that mentality and now gone on to do crazy things as well?
So many stories, so many people that are still with us, and then people that have gone and left. I'm just trying to think of one. I did a podcast recording actually at the end of season 2. We did the whole of season 2 was around creating a safer world. So we interviewed a lot of people in the nightlife industry and different industries around this theme. And the last one was what we called my OG shot girl. And she was my first employee in the company, and she was one of the first ever shot girls. And she'd been with us for like 14 years. She started doing shots when she was 18. She's had 3 kids, gone through like a really tough divorce in that time, been able to support her whole family, stay on her own 2 feet, build up. I mean, her hustle is it's unreal. She's just a powerhouse. And she literally had left on that week that we'd done the podcast recording to go and set up a restaurant down in in Devon. Yeah, like a gorgeous, high dining, really high profile type restaurant. And I mean, that's just one of the stories of so many. We've had girls as well who, and I call them girls because they were so young at the time. They were like studying at dance college. And and they were working for us part-time, and I remember they were just like, they saw the opportunity, they got it, and they were like, we're not actually that passionate about dance. And these are like 22, 23-year-olds buying houses, driving Land Rovers, like holidays when they want, like really good life, but also now just going like, this is actually our career. And you know, they're getting engaged, they're getting married, but they've built a career out of this and financially able to support their whole lifestyle and make different choices. So it's actually an incredible job that often people don't see it that way.
I probably haven't thought about it in that way
Yeah.
before at all. So it's probably really opened my eyes to it. And it's really good that you transformed it way more than the shots now. So like you've got some really big clients, right? Was it Fulham FC?
Yeah, we work with the Hilton, Fulham FC. I mean, some of them people might not know, but like Stonegate is one of the largest chains of bars and clubs, and Recom, and every big chain that you see, we work with.
Is it just the shots you're doing for them, or is it events as well?
No, we do like all kinds of stuff. So hostesses, bar staff, mixologists.
Yeah. So it's so in theory then it is similar to being a recruitment company on a temporary basis.
Exactly.
So it's like recruiting temps.
So now is it like mainly contracts, or do you still get, is it last minute still organising, or do you have it quite consistent? Every Saturday you need this many people, or you've got an event in 2 months? And
yeah, that's a really good question, and I was very strategic. One of the things that I did at the beginning, and I think everyone should do this in their business very quickly, it's identify where your stream of income can come that creates stability. So we have probably just shy of 100 clients. Come rain or shine, every single week we know this is what they need for this night and this night. So we lock that in, and we continue to put a lot of business development energy into that, so that you know you've got predictability, you've got sustainability, you've got something where you can actually take on salaries, take on more people, because it's not lastminute.com, because obviously in a temporary type model, it can be so chaotic. And then what that allows us to then do is do those one-off things. So let's say last year, I'll use an example, we had a festival. That's not going to happen every week. They needed 50 bar staff and 70 bar staff. You're not going to get that every week, but you can then take on those more temporary stuff, temperamental things, because you've got stability.
And you've got a core base of people you can actually reach out to for those roles, right?
Because otherwise it's chaos to the max.
I can imagine.
Do you find though, I'm guessing in the type of industry, you're having to constantly find new people, because it's only going to be that window from, let's say, 18 to 22 on average, I'm guessing, to your staff, for temporary staff, bar staff, shop girls and stuff like that. So you have to constantly find new people.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I think that it's actually a lot broader than you think. Well, we tend not to actually take 18-year-olds too much for different reasons. But I'd say from like 19, 20, 21, 19, 20, 21, up to like anywhere in the 40s. Because a lot of people that do temporary work are actors, models, dancers, anything where they're freelancers. You know, you might be a photographer. There's so many, the freelance industry is massive. And what do you do when you're filling those gap of cash injections? You also get people who do promo work or bar work or hospitality full time.
Yeah.
You know, they're literally just like, I want this lifestyle of having different experiences, going to different jobs. So it's broader than you think. There's a lot of mums as well, and a lot of single dads, or like people who are balancing childcare and they want to work the nights. And yes, we do have to constantly recruit. That's probably one of the most robust departments in our company, where we have like recruitment meetings every single day of the week, multiple like training meetings every single day, multiple days. And it's not easy. Things have shifted in context. So Brexit was a massive game changer for industry. So many people from overseas were I'll say it, they were some of our best workers. They were absolute grafters, and that changed the game 4 or 5 years ago. And then COVID was another shift. I actually don't think COVID was as bad. I actually think Brexit was worse. And then COVID was another shift. A lot of people left the industry. A lot of people went to go and work for Amazon or call centres or stuff that was more digital. And my prediction, my belief is that in 5 years' time it will come back.
Yeah, how was the last year for you then? Obviously, you've had back-to-back hits. How was 2022?
Last year was the best year to date.
Yeah?
It was absolutely insane. Yeah, everyone had just been in this COVID bubble and wanted to go out, wanted to connect face-to-face. This year has not been as good as last year.
Okay.
Some of the younger demographic, we're looking at them and like, these 18-year-olds aren't coming out as much as we used to when we were 18. Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what it is that's caused that. I mean, maybe the whole COVID thing has caused that as well.
It's definitely comes down to money as well a little bit, because people, I know from when I was selling the
Probably.
festival tickets, people are always thinking like, okay, now instead of going to a festival every weekend, I'm going to save my money and go to the big festival rather than going to all these little ones and all these different events. Yeah. And I think and people that are used to staying in now, and they can find enjoyment from staying in.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, do you deal in, I know a lot of 18-year-olds, and I don't know a lot of 18-year-olds, but I know no, but a lot of them prefer to go to like the raves rather than the clubs. Like when we was 18, we was hitting the clubs in Croydon every week, or Kingston Prison. But yeah, now
there's less clubs closing down.
Yeah, rather than the clubs and the bars, they're straight to the raves. So do you deal with a lot of the staff for the raves?
We do one-off events, rave events, as much as the clubs. I would say everything's a yes and, because it's very contextual to the part of the UK that you're in. Like, it all depends what's going around in that area. So it's not got a pattern to it yet. And a lot of the clubs, you're right, some of them are shifting, changing hands, shutting down. There's been a lot in our industry in the last year of the number of venues that have shut down. A lot of them are smaller pubs or smaller venues. The big sites, people are tending to still buy or still get there, but it's extremely changeable.
Where we live in Croydon, we always go to club in Croydon, right? It's be like 4 or 5 clubs. You have Tiger, Yates, Lloyd's, all of them. So then when one by one they start to close down, in my head I was like, okay, that's cool, that's good for the other clubs though, because they're going to be busier. But then one by one they kept shutting, I think, because people would go to Croydon and be like, oh, I'm going to end up somewhere and I can choose on that time. Whereas now you go and you can only end up in one place. So you'd think that place would be booming, but it's actually just killed the whole Croydon nightlife as such, really. Like, no one wants to go out.
Competition is good.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it drives stuff to an area. So it's like, if you want to set up a hairdresser's, go and set it up next to another hairdresser's.
Yeah.
Are you the market leader?
One of them, yeah.
So you do have competition?
We do, and we don't. I don't really believe in competition.
Yeah.
I think people have elements of the same service that they provide, but I don't think we have any competition.
So how many people, so obviously, like I say, it's semi-recruitment, so 2022 is your best year. Have you got some numbers? So how many staff did you have out? What was your turnover?
Oh, how many staff did we have out?
And how many bottles of Jaeger did you sell?
Oh, that's on our website. You'd have to look on our website for that. Our turnover was just under £1 million that year. I wouldn't be able to tell you how many staff we had out.
Too many.
I mean, I don't deal with any of the ops.
I do not.
No.
No.
Don't
We actually know how many bottles of Jaeger, but we wanted you to answer.
Oh, you have that down. Tell me.
We
how
did.
many?
Yes. Was it?
Have we got it written down?
No, you didn't actually write the number, but I remember the number, but I
Lee
don't know
told us.
over what period of time.
I've got it.
Lee might know. Lee?
13,000 bottles of Jägermeister last year.
13,000 bottles of
Was that on our
Jägermeister
website?
last
That's
year.
a lot of hangovers, mate.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Wow.
There we go.
So how does it work then? So do you buy the shots and do you buy the Jägermeister and you're selling them yourselves, or is it teaming up with the clubs? Or
the contractors go to the venue and then they buy the alcohol from the venue and then they sell that.
Right. So that's how it
really?
works.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that.
That's a really cool business model, and it's definitely like, I suppose there weren't many people you could really copy from either. You probably just designed the whole business model
The whole
yourself.
back end, I tell you now, like, no one's done what we've done.
Yeah.
And that's why I say there's no competition.
Yeah.
Because our systems are bespoke. Everything we've done is bespoke. Every single element of it has literally been learned through. I've gone, gosh, that's happened. What can I do to change that? Gosh, that's happened. What can we do to change that? Okay, that system's like, it's literally as you go. So there is nothing infrastructurally.
Is that still happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Always, ever-changing
the time.
market.
How do you implement your systems and processes? Like, do you have like a company kind of guidebook? This is how we do everything step by step, because this is what I'm going through at the minute.
Yeah, I struggle with that as well.
I'm trying to get it. I'm expanding the team. I'm getting people in the office now, and I want everything regimented. If that's the word. Is that the word?
Yeah.
The systems and processes. How do you actually implement them?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So we have ops manuals and we have everything. So what I do is every single member of staff creates the ops manual to their role if there isn't one already. So I think now every single department has it. So yeah, there isn't a department where there is not a written protocol of communication style do's and don'ts around communication, because when you've got that many different people talking to different clients, you want to make sure you've got congruency around that. Actual practicals, how do you do this? So how do you go into the system and book someone in? How do you do this? How do you do that? What day does this need to be done? So it's done by day and then also by process. And how did we create that? I mean, lockdown was an amazing breath to do that. We took time, like my ops director took time to actually do that. But now what we do is every single team member, every single leader, every single person is a leader within their own right, within their department, has to document their processes. So you're constantly building out the manual so it doesn't just fall down onto you. As a business owner, you actually empower your team to say, show me, and you can check that they then know what they're doing. So, hey, do you actually know what you're doing? Do you want to write it down and let me look at that? And then
they'll know a lot of stuff that you don't know.
Totally.
Yeah, so
That's
they're the one in the thick of it, right?
I don't know how to use our booking system. I've got absolutely no idea. I don't even know the logins.
Oh, wow.
Don't know the logins for our payment device. I don't know.
That's powerful for you, though. Like, you haven't even got to touch it.
Well, so how big an impact would you say is that the ops director that's really impacted the business in terms of that side of things? And at what stage do you take that person on?
Yeah. So, yes, and it's about making sure you've got the right people on the bus and the right systems. So I think those are the two key things. Have you got your people that you see have the longevity and the desire to go all the way with you? And then do you have the systems in place to support what they're doing? And I would say yes, but the ops director can only be successful because she has a good team behind her. So if the good team aren't good, then that impacts her. Can you remind me of your question again? Because I just want a specific answer.
So I can't remember specifically, but what I'm trying to get at is this is
When
me asking in my head. This is exactly the process.
When do you get an ops manager?
Yeah, when do you get?
Great question. I think it's going to be different for everyone. My belief with hiring staff is actually very simple. Get someone in part-time. Get someone in to slowly work with you. See how they work. You know, if you can do it as a contract, so make them a contractor. Not all of our staff are full-time PAYE. Not all of those 22 people are full-time PAYE, and that is strategic.
That's important. Yeah.
And the reason why is because from a real legal perspective, doesn't have to be if they're doing multiple things. A lot of people are doing multiple things right now. They want to feel like they're their own business owners and they're freelancers. I empower that. I believe in flexible working. I believe in people being able to work jobs around and actually live, and it not having to be these things like, you must be here 9 to 5 like this. No, doesn't work for the generation. It doesn't.
I don't.
We need to provide flexible work opportunities. That's the first thing. We've always done that. So you're meeting their need on that point. And what you're also doing from a strategic perspective is you're saying, let me see how this person works. Have they got the character? Have they got the grit? Have they got the skill set? And you haven't overcommitted either way. Neither of you overcommitted to each other. A lot of people, they think, oh, ops director, I need to get someone on 80K, 60K. They've got to have all the skill set. Like, just because you're paying that salary does not mean they are going to do what you need them to do. My ops director started, and within 6 months, she had 3 promotions, 3 pay rises, and then she was where she was because I got to see how she works. At the time that she came in, she was doing stilts at the weekend, so like entertainment, and she was nannying. And just by chance, her nannying thing ended. I managed to shuffle, so I was in constant observation of everything that was moving in our organisation, and that's how
it's
she
become
got
more
to
and
where
more
she was.
important in the business, obviously.
Yeah, and then it was a slow training up because she slowly got trained in that part, then that part, then that part, and that part, and that's always what's worked for us.
So Phoenix is obviously your main first business. Yeah. How long has that been going?
15 years. So that used to be called Pout Promotions at the beginning.
Nice.
20-year-old me.
Rebrand.
Rebrand.
So Phoenix obviously had some successful years.
Yes.
So what's the next few years looking like for Phoenix?
So we've always been focused on the UK, and that will continue. So we have a big growth plan for the UK. We actually started just in London, and then 4 years ago expanded, so that will continue. And then our new market is Dubai. I was looking at, so last year I did a bit of an exploration in Ibiza, went to Dubai twice, and I was like, no to Ibiza, yes to Dubai.
Why? What's the main differences?
Okay.
That's interesting.
Island life. Ibiza's fun to go when you are celebrating, partying, maybe relaxing. The way that they do business there is very different to how we do business here in our industry. Dubai is a lot closer to what we do here than Ibiza. And I wasn't willing to compromise on culture and structure and like all the protocols and everything that we have in place because Ibiza just won't follow that.
But actually thinking about it, we work really well. Obviously, number one, you got safety. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much all year round. I know in the summer maybe it's a little bit too hot, but you still get people going. Whereas Ibiza, the season just, we just had closing parties last week, so that's done. So no, that's smart.
Yeah, totally.
Very
and
smart.
Dubai's hospitality industry is nuts, absolutely crazy.
So you linking up with a lot of the bars and stuff are mainly in hotels. So you linking in with hotels. Is that what you're planning on doing?
Last year was a little bit about building those connections.
Yeah.
So I obviously, being in the industry, have people who are out there and have ways in. And then there was just some more tactful things that we had to work on behind the scenes, which we've now got, so we can legally operate there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Are you going to be moving out there, or just spending a lot of time there, or?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a month there in February and then work out from there what's needed. But again, I don't do any of my ops. So I already have one of my team who'll be coming out there, and then we'll hire an ops director very quickly.
Nice.
So I think any expansion, you've got to know I'm very clear on what my strengths are for my organisation and what I will and won't do. And no matter even if we expand, I'm not willing to go and do what I'm not good at.
There's a lot of people as well that I know, obviously it's airline based. I'm in the travel industry as well, but a lot of the people who are like air hostesses, for example, they've got a lot of free time as well, because obviously they have to rest depending on where they're flying from and to, and a lot of them live out in Dubai, especially Emirates, so they've got a massive network, so that's probably a massive target market.
You know
for
what?
you.
You're the second person that said that, and we still haven't looked at that. So I'm going to
Really?
actually take that as a sign.
There you
we
go.
need to
That's
tap
worth coming
into
today
that.
then.
Yeah, thank you. I've got my job. Yeah, massive.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Yeah. Now, to be fair, thinking about it, there's so many tick boxes for Dubai, 100%.
Yeah.
We know you've obviously doing some other things as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so in lockdown, we started two companies. There's me and some other co-founders in sustainability.
Yep.
So one is a sustainable drinks product called Nova Shops, and the other one is an online learning course that trains people up in the hospitality industry into how to have sustainable practices. We knew that sustainability was going to be a massive, thing for the world and also for our industry. So there's those two businesses, and then I consult female business leaders. I never really promote that. That's always, again, just been word of mouth. It's been like business owners that have come to me and said, like, I want you to consult. My type of consultancy is people who they're not startups. Like, they're not in their early stages of what do we want to do or whatever. They're in the crux of it. They're like maybe like a year or so in, and they're like, we've created a shit. What do we do? They're like, help me get out of this mess. It's like that kind of stuff. So it's like, right, now we're structuring teams. Now we're doing ops manuals. Now we're working through, you've got this relational problem. You've got that person who's stolen that. What do we do with the legals here? How do we get the accounts to that? Like, it's really working through their bread and butter. And so people stay with me for quite a long journey on that.
So it sounds like you're doing a great job of mentoring other people. Have you had mentors or mentorships? We're all big advocates on that.
Yeah.
Have you had any
Absolutely.
one to mentor you?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for mentorship. So I think I started personal development on a personal level when I was about 22, and that was through like reading, listening to different voices, like your Jim Rohns, Think and Grow Rich, all your money mindset stuff, where we all start, The Secret.
Yeah.
Got always start there. So it really started there, and the network marketing was a massive part. It was huge in my development. I can remember actually the first time I ever went to a conference, and I'd been trained in the business world in nightlife and hospitality as a young woman. And I don't need to go into the sort of stories that happened there, but they were horrific, right? The type of experiences that would come my way. And I remember being there and watching business leaders who were like heart-led and amazing and willing to give and wanted to serve you. And it was genuine. And at the first ever conference I went there, I just cried. And I remember saying to like my friend at the time, I was like, I want to give up pout. And they were like, no, don't do that. Like, like, you've got a good thing going on there, babes. Like, just do both, right? And then it was network marketing and mentorship that I got there, like directly with really big leaders when that started. And then to actually work in Phoenix, it was about 6 years ago where I got a top transformational coach. And she coaches like the CEO of Dior and really high brands.
Really?
And again, through relationship, I really
Massive,
shouldn't have had that level of coaching by the size of business that we were. But through relationship, I was able to work with her, and that was a massive pivotal point, because that wasn't just learning stuff on a broad scale to apply. It was someone working with me one-to-one in my organisation on my patterns, on the way that I saw stuff, and then also strategically on bringing in certain elements like I do now with other people.
Well, I'm fascinated with that. So what was the setup with that specific one? How much time was she giving you, on what kind of basis, and how much was she charging?
Yeah,
You can share that.
it was like, I think
that.
10 sessions were like 10K. And it was like, and that was definitely a discount for who she was. And it would be, I think it's like once a month or once every 3 weeks. And it would be like, we started working on me first and then working on the organisation. Because really, the reason why your organisation is the way it is because of you. So I know I can look at my business and go, oh my God, that's because in your world at that time, that's what you were focusing on. It is, your business is a mirror to you. And so if you don't do the work on you and you don't consistently do the work on you, you start blaming those around you, or you start pointing fingers and saying, well, that's not right. Well, you hired that person. You trained that person. Like accountability here, responsibility here, but also what do you value? How do you see the world? Do you really know? Like, do you really know what's like? And so we started with me, and then we went to the business. Then we went to, right, now let's get like proper job descriptions written up, HR team in, all that sort of stuff.
How long were your sessions? You say 10 sessions. How
About
long?
an hour and a half each session, yeah.
It's cheaper than my mentor that I had.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she gave me a very good discount.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
And so was that
About value.
Did you just do the 10 sessions, or did you continue to work with her? Are you still in contact now, speaking?
She was on one of my first podcasts, actually.
Oh, really?
She's amazing. Yeah, a really good podcast.
Yeah, it's a great guest to have.
Yeah, really, really good. And we didn't continue. I have other mentors now. So I know what area I want to focus on in my life. I see we're not just our business. So it's like, what areas of your life do you want to focus on and glean from that? Like, and a lot of the people, again, just come from network. It's come from, it's like, I know that's my focus for now. That's not my focus for now. That's my focus for now. That's not my focus for now. So last year we worked with a friend of mine who is a change management consultant. And a lot of the work that he did post-COVID was help us work on the culture of our team. So how do we create accountability? How do we have tools for feedback? Like, a lot of people, when they're working for you, employees, they do not feel confident to give you feedback as a leader and tell you really what their experience is. So how do you have tools to support that process? Because ultimately I could, and I did, not have to work in my business at all. And when I was grieving my sister's death and was, I couldn't work. I physically couldn't work. Now, if you left your organisation for 5 or 6 months without touching it, what would happen? That is whether you have a successful business or not.
100%.
Can you truly step away? If you have not created a structure around you, now, I'm telling you now, anything can happen to you. We could walk across the road now and, God forbid it, get run over. Like, what happens to that organisation that you've created? What I started to realise was, I impact too many lives by this organisation. Too many people are relying on me. It cannot be reliant on me alone. That's actually selfish. Yeah. So I had to make those changes and do that work. And what that may mean is, in that time, you don't actually focus on mass growth. Do not focus on hitting your highest year ever, like, whilst also trying to build culture. You stretch your team in these weird ways. Say to your team, this year is the year we're going to work on culture. You guys are my people. Are we in this together? Are we really doing this? Yeah? Are we really going to build this thing together? Right. Then what we're going to do for the next year is we're going to focus on our culture. And then next year, are we all going to commit that we're going to freaking rocket this thing up? So what does that mean? That, yeah, their bonuses might not be as high or whatever might not happen, but you do it for the longevity. Because then actually what you're building is a structure that is built to last, not something that could burn out tomorrow. And that's what I'm big on. How do we build businesses where the structure is built to last? And people are happy. People love it. Like, you ask all my team, you've got them in a room and you said to them, what's your favourite thing about working? The team. And they're not bullshitting. That's what we've done.
What have you done to build culture?
Wow, such a good question. So the first, I think, is meeting your people where they are at. What are the things that are super important to your team? So my team love experiences. They love going to Ascot. They love going to Henley. They love it when we do team building days and do like adventure things and all this sort of stuff. So I invest time, money and energy into that. My team enjoy going to certain restaurants or, like some of the shop girls I've gone out in Mayfair. So we arrange like days where we go and take them to the places that they really like and that we really connect with them. So being human with your team and not creating a distance, because just by nature, like, if you have a team and you're now speaking on stages. You've got so think about my life. Got podcasts, speaking on stages, doing this. People are like, whoa, like, is she like me anymore? Is she still that shot girl that started this business? And what does it mean if for a moment you can step back into that shot girl who started this business and actually find out, how's your dog doing? How's your grand's birthday? Tell me about your life. What's the most important thing in your world right now? And our shot girls will come to us when they're struggling having abortions, when someone has died. They tell us the depths of their life and let us in there to support them. But that's taken an intentional culture to build. But what that does is it builds trust, it builds loyalty, it builds commitment, it builds true transparency in relationship. And let's face it, the business world is cutthroat. Anyone at any time can fuck you over if they really want to. If you let someone into the inside of your information, be careful. Because if they don't have trust for you, if they don't have respect for you, they could be the next one to go and set up the company and take everything that they have built with you and go on. These are strategies that it's about being a good human, and it's also about protecting what you have. And that comes through being real with people. And we've seen that mirrored to us so many times where people have protected the mothership because we've invested in. So that's one way of building culture. There's loads of real practical tools and tips that I'd take clients through, but I'd say that is just a general rule for everyone.
Going back to earlier, you said about feedback. I think feedback's quite important as well. What do you do with how to get feedback? I think that must be, because especially we got a small business, so it's like if someone's going to leave like anonymous feedback, you'd probably better work out who it is.
Yeah.
But so obviously you want to build trust where they can just probably give you the feedback. But I think that's
great. So one of the real generic ways that we do it, because obviously we have so many different contractors that work with us and they'll come and go, but with our core contractors, the ones who really rely on us as their main source of income, that sort of stuff, we always send out anonymous surveys. So we do that kind of periodically across a year, where people just have full range to do anything. Are people really telling you the truth? It's, we do get good feedback. With my team, we did this fascinating tool last year, right? So when we worked with my friend who's a management consultant, he got my core leaders onto a team call and said to them, ask them loads and loads of questions about me. Like, what do they really, really think about working with me? He dictated every single thing onto a piece of paper. Then came to a meeting with me and read me out every single thing that everyone had said.
Did they know that it was going to come back to you?
Yeah, he told us the whole thing. No, I don't think he told them, but he told me. Sorry. He then read out every single thing that they said to me, then made me go away and read it all like 4 or 5 times. And then we got on a team call and he read it out to everyone in front of everyone.
Brutal.
It was one of the most interesting experiences I have ever done, because you go through this wave of emotion. You're like, fuck you, I love you, who's that? I wonder who that is. And you're trying to work it all out, and then you just let it go. And you're like, every single person is so entitled to have their experience. And every single perspective is so valid and welcome at the table. And that's where you have to get to at the end of it. And I genuinely did. And I sat there and I was like, thank you all. Because you would never tell me this to my face. But the interesting thing was, at the back of that, some of my team actually found it really hard. And they were really upset by the feedback that was given by the people. Because I was like, I don't think like that. And I had calls afterwards where they're like, that wasn't me. I didn't like that. I didn't believe that. I want you to be like that. And so it was actually navigating, wow. But do you know what it did? It created this open space where people can be real. And it shifted something in our culture where now we just say it like it is. Like, they'll tell me, Sarah, shit house. No. Shit idea. No, we're not doing that. No. And they'll just speak out now, and they'll be like, you're being too intense, or you're being too this, and they'll just speak their voice rather than just being a yes person, because no one wants yes people all the time.
And who is it that implemented that? You had someone external come in?
I did, because it's very hard to do that yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Was that your idea?
It was his idea. Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. So what is it you're working on now, or over the next 12 months you want to be working on within the business?
Yeah, so our business is in a season of growth. We had a nice chunk of time where it was maintenance, like I said, my sister passed away, and it was important for the team to just be able to be. It was hard for them to know how to support me and me to support them. So we're just stepping up Phoenix-wise into a big season of growth and a massive push for the next year, which will be really exciting. I've got the podcast. I am going to go to start doing video with that, and also building out the network around that. So lots of events, workshops, really practical-led stuff. Speaking is a massive personal goal for mine, and being on more stages and putting myself out there in those spaces. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, those are just some of the things
What do you want are you going to, with your speaking, is there going to be a core message you want to push out to as many people as possible, or would you mix it up quite a lot? Or?
Yeah, see, I'm one of those where I'm an explorer. So what I do is I wait to see what comes to me. So I have an idea of what I would like, and I think it's very good to also see how people see you. So on the back of EMC, there was like 2 speaking gigs that I've been invited to. So I'm just tuning into, okay, what's the demographic there? How have they seen me? Why have they got me on here? Like, ask some questions as to how am I showing it. So actually, rather than come in and go like, this is my definitive brand message and boxing yourself in, the next couple of years for me is going to be actually getting out there and exploring and going in different places and seeing what message lands and having fun with it. And then I think if you ask me this question in like 2 years' time, I'll probably have a very different perspective and a lot more clarity.
Nice. The question I've asked a few guests, what recommendations do you have for people, either books, podcasts, people to follow on social media? Who do you follow? Who kind of inspires you? Where have you learned a lot from?
I love this question. And again, like I said, I'm very, very strategic. So what I try to do is blot out the voices that I'm not listening to if that's not the thing I'm working on. And that's because it become a distraction. So for me right now, I'm going to give you an answer that's applicable to a certain area of life that I'm working on, which is my investments. So I'm listening a lot to Rob Moore. I'm reading his book at the moment, Money, which I really, really love. But that's because
Is he solely property?
I think that is...
Because obviously that's his thing, right? That's
Yeah.
his brand, is through property. But is he probably solely property, or whether he's got other things in there as well?
It's a really good question. I don't want to answer that because I don't actually know.
Yeah.
I know his main business is property. But so that will be a main voice that I'm listening to at the moment because I'm working on that thing. If you'd asked me what was the last book that I read, it was a book on human trafficking and a survivor called Loretta Lyon, who is amazing because I do a lot of work in activism and human rights and women's rights. And so I read her story, got to meet her, and I'm very strategic about what's my focus right now, what are the voices that I need to listen to and why. And everything for me is about taking action on it. So I work on an area of my life to take the action on that thing. Yeah.
How did you make contact with her? Just going back to that. So
Yeah.
she had a book. Would you just buy it on Amazon? And then
it was a very weird series of events. So people know that I've done a lot of work in this area. Our company is affiliated and partnered with a anti-human trafficking organisation called A21. We have been for years. So first of all, I've got a presence in that area. So naturally people come to me to connect around that as a topic. There's an amazing restaurant in Knightsbridge called Chiro's, which is a very famous restaurant. And Chiro, I smile because Chiro is amazing. And you go to the restaurant, there's like all these famous people on his walls. He knows everybody. And I got connected to Chiro by one of my friends who works in human trafficking on the front line. He's a lawyer for different human trafficking cases. So I got connected to Chiro. Chiro knew this woman, Loretta. And then also one of my team, who does social media and content for creation for us, was at a female empowerment event and saw Loretta there. So from Chiro and from her, I meet Loretta and I read her book. So again, all relationships, networks, about standing for something, knowing what you stand for, being consistent in it, and the relationships come and the people start connecting with you in that way, and it blossoms. Time game.
that's crazy.
Nice. One little last light-hearted question. If you could have 4 people around the dinner table, who would they be, past or present?
Oh. Okay, the first one's going to be my granddad, because he died when I was 5 and he was the only businessman in my family, and all my family said different things about him, like, I want to know the truth from his mouth, right? And I want to learn from him. So my granddad, Oprah, just because she's freaking epic.
Yeah.
Beyonce, because she's freaking epic. Who would I have with my last one? Oh, I think Alan Sugar. I was born on the same day as him. We've got the same birthday, so we've got
In common there.
a commonality.
Yeah.
And I just want to pick his brain.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be sick.
There you go.
Have you ever applied for The Apprentice out of curiosity?
I've not, no.
Have you ever crossed your
Oh,
mind?
you'd be great.
No, I
Yeah,
have
you're good.
not.
I think you're probably too successful
Yeah.
now to be able to
Yeah, people
apply.
always said it in my 20s, like, do it. And I was like, nah, I'm all right without it.
It can actually ruin you, to be fair, but
Yeah,
at the same time.
can't it? But then I don't know, there's something great that I'm enjoying now about being connected to like-minded entrepreneurs, and there's a buzz, isn't there, around that? A lot of what I want to create next is in that partnership and collaboration with others. So, yeah.
Brilliant. No, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
Yeah,
much. It was
Cool.
great. This is
Thank
good.
you.
Amazing.